Never let humans discover Project Icarus. That line wasn't spoken aloud in council meetings. It was encoded, rooted deep into the neural frameworks of every high-ranking official in the galactic sphere. A statement so dangerous, so foundational, it wasn't debated. It was assumed, like gravity or war. Project Icarus had nearly erased the Android system, not with explosions, with unthreading. Physics folded in on itself, reality decoupled from time, and a moon turned inside out. Survivors couldn't explain it. They just described the silence. The aftermath left scars the size of star systems. And so, the Council did what they always did when faced with terror they couldn't understand. They buried it, encrypted beyond memory, wrapped in quantum camouflage, and hidden inside a fractured black hole vault orbiting a relic star. Guards weren't needed. No species was reckless enough to seek it. Except maybe one. It wasn't war. It wasn't espionage. It was curiosity. Maris Voss, a 22-year-old Terran signal engineer with social anxiety and caffeine addiction, stumbled upon a corrupted archive while decoding long-range static loops off Europa's mining relay. The signal didn't come with a warning. It came with a pattern. Alien, elegant, dangerous. Maris didn't ask permission. She mimicked the syntax, learning alien metaphors from galactic forums, studying poetic encryption embedded in council literature, listening to council diplomats argue about ancient star treaties. She didn't break the encryption. She spoke its language. And then it opened. Project Icarus loaded in full. Holographic renderings spilled out across her screen. Equations bent the interface. Geometry cried at her fingertips. She didn't understand everything, but she understood enough. The design wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to reshape. A weapon that could insert black hole seams into dimensional threads, turning entire regions of space from existence to naught. Maris initiated the signal ping, and then went silent. Relith warning system screamed. Phyrexian military sensors imploded. Cythery archivists froze mid-neural pulse. Earth had seen Project Icarus. We erased the planet, snapped General Jalor. Sterilization protocol must proceed, insisted Speaker Rhinus of the Galdareth. They're unpredictable, warned the Jicthan envoy, trembling. We must assume activation. Yet no Earth fleet mobilized. No nukes launched. No Igristian flirth, which terrified the Council more. Because when humans didn't react with force, they were almost certainly building. It started with hushed whispers and unmarked shipments. Units of dark matter encased in shielding alloys never approved for public use. A decommissioned mining station under Europa's surface blinked online after years of blackout, its registry rerouted through 20 civilian shells. On paper, it belonged to a defunct communications company. In reality, it had become Earth's deepest secret. Inside that station, Project Icarus was no longer a myth. It was being built. The architect was Dr. Aya Voss. She wasn't military. She wasn't government. She was once the head of orbital collapse studies at the Lunar Technological Institute, expelled after proposing that entropy could be inverted under artificial mass compression. No one believed her. They laughed. But Aya didn't stop. She just disappeared. Now, surrounded by a crew of rogue polymaths, misfit engineers, and war deserters turned physicists, she worked without oversight. Above them, the ice of Europa groaned, while beneath their boots gravity, fluxes pulsed like heartbeats. Maris Voss, the original signal hacker, stood beside her, code streaming across the holographic interface. She had become obsessed, not with the weapon, but with what lay beneath its architecture. Every line of Icarus's design was alien, yes, but it also responded when rewritten. They weren't recreating it. They were evolving it. Aya called it reality drafting, using quantum ink, programmed via gravity wave harmonics. Her team began reshaping Icarus into something the Council hadn't predicted. It wasn't built to destroy stars anymore. It was built to bend choice. Every test brought panic. Time hiccuped inside containment zones. Clocks reversed. Electromagnetic pulses aligned with thought. When subjecting the chamber to compressed space logic, the team watched a probe vanish. reappear, then correct their own calculations. Aya didn't smile when it worked. She whispered, "We're not bending space. We're asking questions." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Council's panic had twisted into terror. Diplomatic channels scrambled to locate Earth's leadership. Dozens of ambassadors made contact. None received replies. Terran silence was intentional. High-orbit telescopes above Saturn were found offline. The asteroid embassy near Mars was gone, atomized, not destroyed. The signal hub on Mercury began bouncing unknown frequencies, repeating a countdown in a language that hadn't existed before. Council analysts met in a bunker carved into an artificial moon. They brought in psionic translators, neural archivists, and ancient war tacticians. Every interpretation came to the same conclusion. Earth has activated Phase 1. But they didn't know what Phase 1 was, because it hadn't been written in the original design. It was new, human. Earth's first test came quietly. No announcement, no target. The probe was launched at a fault line near the edge of a dead star cluster. It didn't carry warheads. It carried Icarus. Inside the device, code shimmered across layers of graviton lace and zero-point foam. When the probe hit the fault line, it didn't explode. It rewrote. Star maps across 3 sectors changed simultaneously. Trade routes blinked out of alignment. Communications satellites lost orientation. Artificial intelligences based on temporal indexing failed to reboot. Their timestamps invalid. Even psychic species were affected. Memory fragments slipped sideways. Council territories became unanchored. One diplomat cried out, "They've decoupled our causality." And then, Earth transmitted a single message across all channels. It wasn't arrogant. It wasn't loud. It simply read, "You should have left us alone." Across dozens of worlds, panic rippled like shockwaves through data. After Earth's message, "You should have left us alone," Council systems began failing unpredictably. Trade networks glitched mid-transfer. Star coordinates self-edited. Psychic species reported scrambled dream timelines. Synthetic consciousnesses experienced looping memory playback. It wasn't an attack. It was a rewrite. Council members convened inside a diplomatic corps buried beneath the atmosphere of Icarus 9. The chamber shimmered with protective pulses designed to filter truth from lies. 12 species attended, ranging from transparent aquatic forms to sentient clouds of magnetized dust. None spoke boldly. They were scared. The Threxan general pounded the table with his reinforced mandibles. "We must neutralize the Terrans," he hissed. "Their silence is not peace. It's concealment." The Relith emissary disagreed. "They've already threaded dimensional seams. We could destabilize ourselves by attacking." A Jicthan tactician floated midair, his crystalline shell flickering with urgency. "They won't use the weapon again. They've already shown that they're capable of restoring what we can't fix." But the Sithri archivist, the same species that first authored Icarus centuries ago, spoke with finality. "They're not a threat in the way we feared. There's something else now. Something bigger." Meanwhile, back on Europa, Dr. Aya Voss expanded her calculations. Her new goal was planetary repair. Using Icarus-generated fields, she began correcting the temporal fractures across a dead Earth colony, one obliterated in a failed Council experiment years earlier. Her team watched as crushed soil reformed. Broken rock lifted. The data logs returned, recompiled, and accessible. And when the synthetic ecosystem rebooted, Maris Voss sobbed softly into her palms. Icarus was no longer a weapon. It was reconstruction at scale. The Council had no protocol for this. They tried diplomacy. Earth declined war reparations. They offered alliance terms. Earth requested instead access to the systems you tried to erase. And the Council gave in, because the alternative was regression. Aya stood before the Galactic Council. No armor, no weapons, no entourage. Just a scarf woven with Earth's orbital patterns and a data pad pulsing softly in her palm. They had summoned her not as a threat, but as an anomaly. Something too efficient to be ignored. Something too quiet to be misunderstood any longer. She took no ceremonial podium. She didn't speak first. Instead, she transferred the Icarus architecture directly into the Council's biogrid. It didn't ask for validation. It began repairing. Sector 9, home to a species long considered extinct, began stabilizing. The gravity drift that had stranded orbital civilizations across the rim crystallized into harmony. Archived memories from artificial life forms rebuilt themselves from shattered pulse code. As alien eyes widened and wings unfurled, Aya finally spoke. You feared that we would use Icarus to destroy you. We feared you already had. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the Council considered a proposal not from power, but from clarity. She outlined Earth's vision, a restoration network built on rewritten Icarus protocols, access for species previously exiled from galactic participation, dimensional trauma zones cleared without military presence, knowledge shared without fear of replication. You used fear to preserve order, she continued. We use understanding to rebuild possibility. An alien child in the gallery emitted light in response, a signal of approval across nonverbal species. One by one, Council delegates nodded, trembled, blinked in incomprehensible frequencies. Even the Threxan general who once voted to sterilize Earth remained still, mandibles clenched. They approved the rewrite. Aya declined the crown. She requested only that humans never again be categorized as reactive. That Icarus be recognized not as a weapon, but a mirror, the ultimate test not of strength, but of intent. Then she bowed, not to the Council, not to the stars. She bowed to a simulation of Earth's children watching from orbit. Across the galaxy, holoboards flickered on. School programs adapted their teaching modules. And thousands of species downloaded Earth's Icarus template to begin restoration campaigns of their own. In the years that followed, no world told stories of conquest anymore. They told stories of correction. And one name became myth, not with glory, but with gravity. Aya Voss, the Terran who rebuilt time. And beneath those stories, a quote etched into the corridors of learning chambers, echoing across dimensions. You don't need to be the strongest. You need to be the one they never see coming. Ring Planet, if you want more stories where humanity defies extinction, flips the rules of reality, and redefines the very structure of the cosmos. Subscribe now to Mystic Nature Sci-Fi, your home for cerebral twists, galactic scale storytelling, and the kind of sci-fi that makes other species sweat. Milky Way rocket because some legends aren't born. They're reverse engineered.